I'm not going to be Jerome as much as I want to be, but I'm honored to stand beside you. I love your work, and you're kind of on my Mount Rushmore, so it's also good to be friends with you. I want to start with the end in mind, and in at the I guess midway through November, I went to recovery court graduation for one of our patients. She'd overdosed multiple times, being reversed. She had two little girls with her that she got custody back through the drug court process. And she's graduating drug court, and the little girls that she now has custody of, they're between 6 and 10. The older I get, the harder that gets to do, by the way. But I think they're between 6 and 10. And they had never had a Christmas tree. And they were excited that this year they may have a Christmas tree because they were back in the house with their biological mom. And the court, the people in court that had known her now for 2 years, the mom, as she went through the process, took up money among themselves and bought those little girls a Christmas tree. And they not only bought them a Christmas tree, but they bought them one of those big cylinders of ornaments that you see in Walmart or Target. You know what I'm talking about. And when they gave them to those little girls and you saw them clutching those ornaments, I sat there feeling about this big. And I felt about this big because I gripe when I have to put up my Christmas tree. And I gripe when I have to put up the ornaments. And there's two little girls that have never had a Christmas with their mom. And so I think if I could take you all with me every day, we wouldn't have to sell you on anything. Because I get to see that every day. I get to see that every day. And so I wanted to lead with that because that we need to keep that in mind. Why are we here? Why are we trying to talk about this? Why did Jerome talk about the importance of us using this money for what it was targeted for and not just blowing it like we did the tobacco settlement money? I'm sorry, I was a little harsher than you were with that because we did. We did not utilize that money how it was intended to be utilized. With the opiate abatement money, we have a shot at this. So I'm a Tennessean. I take Tennessee with me wherever I go. I'm also the drug czar for the state of West Virginia. Don't ask me how that one happened, but I've loved it, and I love the work that I get to do. But my interest in this work comes from the fact that I'm an internal medicine physician, and as a senior resident, my chief resident year in training, I got addicted to prescription OxyContin and Xanax. As I come from Northeast Tennessee, a little town called Jonesboro. I promise you it's worth visiting if you ever get a chance. I was the first one in my family with my last name to ever graduate from college, let alone medical school. And so, I came up through that. I've got a wife, a family. I was a non-traditional student. I was 27 years old when I went back to med school. At the time I was the chief resident, I was 33. And on the way home from work one day, I thought life was pretty tough on me. I was a chief resident. We didn't have a lot of monitoring back in the day, not like it is now. So I had about 130 residents under me in charge of our VA hospital in Northeast Tennessee. I didn't like my wife very much. I didn't like my wife, by the way, I'm still married to her. The problem was me, not her. And I flipped open the glove compartment of my truck, and I had some old Norcos in there. Norco is hydrocodone acetaminophen, you all know them as Narcan. And I looked at those things and I said, my patients take these things every day. And I said, I'm going to do it. So I broke one in half, threw it in my mouth. And by the time I got home about 10 minutes later, suddenly my life wasn't so bad. My job was good. I liked my wife and my kids were better behaved. That's a heck of a drive home. What I didn't understand at that time is that part of our brain interprets physical pain, also interprets emotional pain. You don't separate the two. So when you numb one, you numb the other. And that's one of the dangers. And we don't learn that stuff in medical school, believe it or not. And so I went on about a 3-year run. I wound up using 500 milligrams of OxyContin and about 8 milligrams of Xanax every day. And guys, I wasn't living underneath the bridge. I was a professor at a medical school, teaching medical students, medical residents, nursing students, nurse practitioners, pharmacy students, pharmacy residents. And I had this secret that nobody knew about, and it nearly took my life. And I got world-class care. I'm in Tennessee. We have a great physician's health program. I did not get kicked to the curb. I didn't get kicked to the curb because I cost too much money to make. Right? It took money to make me. The taxpayers of Tennessee paid for most part of my medical education, so it was much cheaper to rehabilitate me and put me back in my job. And as soon as I got to detox, and this is funny, I didn't even know what detox was. Just so you know, keep in mind, I'm a board certified intern, so I had no clue what I was getting ready to get into. But there were 24 people on my floor at Vanderbilt University. And nobody knew I was a doctor. And as those days went by, as we're all coming off the things we were coming off of, I thought we would all go to a treatment facility when we left there. I thought we were all in the same program. I mean, it seemed reasonable to me. And what I learned over those few days was that out of those 24 kids, and guys, they were kids, I was 37, the rest of those people were kids. They were 19, and that one person was me, and I've never gotten over it. I haven't gotten over it to this day. Because there's two systems of care in our country when it comes to the treatment of addiction. There's a system of care that if you have money and resources, you get this, and then everybody else gets this. And the decisions for these people are made by the insurance companies, not by the clinicians taking care of. I'm sorry, guys, that's a fact. And I'm not good with that. I got world-class help for my addiction. Addiction is genetics, trauma, and opportunity. I teach it as a slot machine. I'm a survivor of physical and sexual abuse as a child. And it didn't matter that I had MD on the wall. I come from a long line of people in East Tennessee with substance use disorder. I promise you, the Lloyds and the Shipleys are two families that never should have mixed from a DNA standpoint, yet we did anyway. I have 18 first cousins on my line. 14 of us had problems with addiction, and 4 of us died of alcohol or drug overdoses before age 40. That's my family history. I can't change that. I had a mom who was physically abusive, and I had an uncle, my favorite uncle, unfortunately, that sexually abused me from the time I was 5 years old until I got big enough to defend myself. So I had the risk factors from addiction. It didn't matter that I had MD on the wall, and then the opportunity presented itself with the pain medication, it was from a dentist, that I had gotten for some routine work that I didn't need, that I just threw in my glove compartment. I tell you that to tell you, I didn't wake up one morning and go, hey, I got this far in life and I think I'll flush it all down the toilet. That wasn't my goal. It just happened over time. And then I got this world-class care. I got help with my physical and sexual abuse. It's not the boogeyman in the closet anymore. And the thing I love doing more than anything right now is taking care of drug-dependent pregnant women. It's the most fun that I've ever had. And I can tell you that they are so resilient. I hear people say awful things about them. We've got to take their babies. We've got to throw them in jail. All these things. And then I met them. I'm like, boy, I bet you wouldn't say that if you knew them. 100% of them have been traumatized. I cut my teeth in treating pregnant women in southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. If you're going to talk to me about the opioid crisis and you don't mention those two areas of the country, I'm not big on listening to you because I don't think you know what you're talking about. And most of these women have been trafficked, and we go, golly, trafficking is awful, by their own family. And guys, I have a daughter. And to get to her, you're going to have to go through me, and I'm going to die. So imagine that being your worst nightmare. And I tell you that because I want to take off on something Jerome said. Jerome said stigmas kill more people than fentanyl. Never heard anybody put it that way, and it's exactly right. Because people won't step out and ask for help because of the judgmentalness that comes from us. And I'm sorry, guys, it's in our churches. It's the biggest untapped resource we have in this country is our faith-based organizations, but they're not going to do it when they come in and we're judging them right from the start. I had a lady in Gray, Tennessee one night. I was up there advocating for a clinic that wanted to come to town. She was sitting about right here, dressed in head to toe orange, which would scare the hell out of anybody. And she kept eyeballing me all night long. And finally she got up and she says, Dr. Lloyd, how many chances does somebody get? Well, where I was standing, I could see 4 church steeples. Okay, I'm in Gray, Tennessee. And I gave her the Jesus answer. What's the Jesus answer? Not 70, not 7, but 70 times 7. Jesus' point wasn't 490. And it's where I really started to understand the importance of meeting people where they are. And so now as we talk about the money that we've got, and I want to tell you this, and I'll try to be as quick as I can, but I get so fired up about it because I'm so scared right now that we're going to blow it. I'm really scared we're going to blow it, guys. And so the things that I see are these counties around the country that have got money, they've got significant amount of money. These are good people there. This is a complicated problem and they don't know what to do with it. Okay, we've got these big places like Hopkins and the Rand Corporation, and I'm not knocking any of those places. We need the work that they do. But they come out with these landmark studies on opioid abatement, and really what they tell us is what we already know. We know the buckets, we know the strategies. How do we know how much money to put into each strategy? How do we know how to create a recovery-oriented system of care that no matter where you touch the system, you get the care that's right for you? That's what I want. That's what I want. And where does it start, guys? It starts with keeping people alive. In West Virginia, harm reduction is almost a 4-letter word because people keep talking about, oh, you're just giving addicts needles. Their words, not mine. Right? And it's way more than that, although there's a big benefit to clean syringe exchange. If you want to lower the rates of HIV and Hep C in your community, you better have a syringe service program. I mean, sorry, that's just a fact. But guys, we can't treat dead people. And so when everybody's called him Jim tonight, I have no idea who Jim is. Murph has taken me out of my comfort zone so many times. And he challenged me. He says, why don't you stop running your mouth and do something? And so 2 years ago in November, I sat down for a whole month and I said, okay, on one page, if you don't know what to do, do this. Step one is blanket your state with naloxone, overdose reversal drugs. Blanket it. It should be on every street corner. I shouldn't be able to go anywhere and not find it. It should be on the wall of every bar in every city in the United States. It should not be hard to find. And guys, where we get pushback from our states that are already spending money on these programs. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. They take offense to it that they're not doing a good job. The reason that it's not having the effect is because they don't have it in the hands of the people who need it. I need it in the hands of people who use drugs or people who hang around people who use drugs. I'm sorry, that's where it needs to be. All right? And so they take offense to it and they push back at some of the stuff we're talking about. I want to invite them to the table and work with them and help them get this medication into the hands of the people who are going to use it. And that's why I work with Murph, because I haven't seen anybody take the lead here. I haven't seen it from a national perspective, and I'm not knocking our leaders, but I haven't seen anybody get up in D.C. and go, hey, if you don't know what to do, do this. Well, okay, if you want to know what I think, here's what I think. I think you blanket your state with overdose reversal drugs right off the bat. You're going to save lives starting today, not 6 months from now. But here's the point about it. They have to know where to get it. Remember somebody talked about it earlier, I think it's George. Health departments. We say in Tennessee all the time, we have it in our health department. That's great. If I could only get the people who are using drugs in homeless encampments to trace down to the health department, that would be a wonderful thing. Right? And then when we send people there to get it, to take it to the homeless encampments, they give them 2 boxes. There's 2,000 people in that homeless encampment. Okay? This has to be no bars, guys. And there has to be a public relations campaign that goes on, that billboards and using celebrities. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, for God's sakes. You can't throw a rock and not hit a singer's armor out. Okay? So we need these campaigns out there, and then there's more than just saving their life, because they need a hookup to treatment. And a lot of times that treatment is medication, because medication will save your life. Buprenorphine and methadone, I don't care what you think about either one, don't care. They have about a 70% mortality benefit. What does that mean? That means 70% of people that would have died don't. Okay, and I can work with that. And guys, if we can hang on to these folks and keep them alive, we can start to get to these underlying drivers of addiction, the physical, sexual, emotional abuse, big T traumas, and we can start to help them develop from a spiritual standpoint. Right? That's the deal. Because there is not a drug out there that gets people into recovery. But if we can keep them alive, now we get a chance of doing that. All right? And so it's just a tool. And so that's what I advocate for. I want to use analytics and artificial intelligence to tell me where to put this money and look at our outcomes. And then I want to do something really brave. I want to measure our outcomes. If you look at our field, it's the only field of medicine I know of that we don't measure outcomes. If you call up the treatment center, you're going to spend your life savings and mortgage your house for the 3rd time to send your kid to treatment. Ask them what the success rate is at 2 and 5 years. You're going to get one of 2 things, crickets or a lie. And I'm not good with that anymore. I want to have the courage to move our money from programs that aren't working to programs that are, and stop funding stuff just based on the fact that they spent all their money last year, because to me that's crap. And I'm tired of watching it because people die. And so the reason that I work with Murph is because I haven't seen anybody else do that. That's the Steve Lloyd plan. By the way, go out and use it. All right, if states and counties don't know what to do that. And it starts with keeping people alive. Because when we get this medication in the hands of people who are using drugs, there will be lives saved. I went to a homeless encampment in Nashville, which is right across the river from the Titans Stadium. And there's about 1,500 people in there. And I tell people all the time, if you've lost your bicycle, I know where it is. Okay? As I go in there, you should see this community. It's unbelievable. We drive by it all the time. We play like we don't see it, whatever we do. This is an unbelievable community. And those people living in those encampments know the folks in there who know how to use naloxone. It's amazing. So we went on a Thursday. Wednesday night, they had 4 overdoses in there. 3 of them lived, 1 of them died. How many of those you think got reported? 0. So these numbers that you see, I promise you, are just barely scratching the surface. So I use my story to tell you this. I'm a turtle on a fence post. There's one thing you know about a turtle on a fence post is it didn't get there by itself. Okay, and that's, by the way, that's Alex Haley's, not mine. I wish it was mine. But when you see somebody like me, or you see somebody who's gotten into recovery, they got there because of the community of people around them. The opposite of addiction is not recovery, it's community and relationship. And guys, I think it's inherent on us. I think we're called to do it ethically and spiritually by our God. And I think if Jesus Christ was in this room with us today or walking the earth today, these would be the people he would be hanging out with because they're hurting the worst. So Lord, thank you for the opportunity to talk to folks. And guys, we'll be around.